Hey, Groups family, I want to welcome you to week 5 of the Song of Solomon video series. My name is Bob Pittenger. I'm the Groups pastor for all of TC. I want to thank you for being with us these last 5 weeks. I hope that as husbands and wives or as couples that are dating or someday want to be married, that you've been able to learn from Pastor Alex's sermons as well as from these videos, just to have time to figure out how to grow closer together and keep the intimacy, the wonderful gift of intimacy that God has given each one of you. So I remember back 25 years ago when Shirley and I started dating, we were together all the time. You couldn't keep us apart. I was 29 years old. She was 21, and I had been single for a long time and was ready to be married, but I'd never met anyone like Shirley. I mean, she just captured my heart, and I just had an instant love for her the first day that we met. And so we continued to grow closer and closer together, and we were never apart. We would be in the student center studying for a New Testament class, and then we would go to the library and study together. We would sit outside on warm days and be together. And when the end of the evening was over, I would walk her to the girls' dorm and just tell her how much she meant to me and how much I loved her. And then I would leave and walk over to the guys' dorm and walk straight to the payphone, put a quarter in, and I would call her in the girls' dorm, and she was waiting by the phone, and we'd talk for another half hour. I mean, we couldn't wait to talk to each other. We had only been apart 3 minutes for the walk between dorms, and yet I still wanted to talk to her. I wanted hers to be the last voice I heard before I went to bed. We always wanted to be together. Now we've been married 25 years as of February 25th, and we are still experiencing that same type of love. But I believe it's because of about 5 years ago, I began to realize our son, who is now 14, is going to be moving off to college soon. And one of these days, we're going to have an empty nest. And it's like, I don't want to look at my wife and say, who are you? You're not the same person that I married. And I don't want her to look at me and say the same thing. Yes, we both have changed over the last 25 years. And when he's out of school and out of college, it'll be closer to 30 years. We're not the same people. But that doesn't mean I shouldn't still know her or she shouldn't know me. And so over the last 3 to 5 years, we've been taking steps to make sure that we know one another. We have days that he's hanging out with friends and doing stuff with friends, and so we go to do things together. Sometimes I do things that I really don't like to do. I go to the grocery store, I'll push the cart while she loads it up with the $4.3 million worth of groceries she buys each week. She'll do things that I like to do. She'll come in and watch football games with me. Now, quite honestly, I think she's playing on Instagram the whole time the game's on, but the truth is she's next to me. We take time to talk with one another and share with one another because we are all too aware that our son that we have poured into now for 14 years, that we love so much, that someday soon, actually way too soon, he is going to grow up, graduate from high school, he's going to go to college, and sooner or later, he's going to meet some sweet, godly woman and betray us and move out. Instead of loving us forever, he's going to give his heart to someone else and move away. Now, obviously, that's what we want, and I'm joking. But as parents, isn't that what it feels like when our kids leave? That they've just left us, and it's like, goodness, what do we do now? I don't want Shirley and I to look at each other in the next 5 years and say, I don't know who you are. I want us to look at each other and say, hey, it's time for us to have our life together again. We've invested in our son. We've taught him about being a godly man and how to love the woman that God brings into his life properly. But now it's time for us to get to enjoy our time together. That's only going to happen if we start now and continue every day until he moves off and until we are an empty nest family. If we take time to get to know each other, to talk together, to laugh together, to love one another, and continually do it day after day after day. As you finish the study questions tonight with your group and head home, I would encourage you to make a plan. It doesn't always happen every night, but make a plan that at least one day every week that you're spending time together. We have neighbors that have a date night once a week. They have 3 kids, and they said if it wasn't for their date night, they would be divorced by now. They take time to make sure that they have time for one another. So I'd encourage you tonight, go home and find time for you all to have time together. Talk, laugh, discuss, tell the stories of how things went when you were younger. Continue to fall in love afresh and new every day. And when you reach that time of the empty nest, you're going to be surprised at the strong intimacy, the strong bonds of love that you still have that are actually greater than that what you had when you went on your honeymoon.